The moment Trevor Ashford didn't shake my hand, I knew I was screwed. This 32-year-old Stanford MBA sat across from me in the glass conference room like I was a line item he needed to delete from a spreadsheet. Name's Nathan Brooks, by the way. I'm 58, and I'd just spent 32 years at Ironwall Technologies building the quantum encryption systems that kept our Navy communications secure from Norfolk to the Persian Gulf. Trevor adjusted his $200 tie and opened my personnel file like it was a takeout menu. Look, Nathan, you've contributed solid work over the years. Really solid. But we're pivoting toward AI-first solutions, and frankly, your analog approach doesn't align with our digital transformation roadmap. Analog approach. Hell, I'd been writing quantum encryption algorithms since this kid was learning to tie his shoes, but sure, I was analog. The company's moving in a new direction, he continued, that shark smile never touching his eyes. If you're not comfortable adapting to innovation, well, he gestured toward the door like he was showing me to the bathroom. You know what this is. This is what happens when the founder's son gets handed the CEO chair straight out of business school. Trevor had never written a line of code, never pulled an all-nighter debugging a system failure, never missed Christmas dinner because a server farm crashed during a critical defense operation. But he had an MBA and daddy's blessing, which apparently trumped 3 decades of experience. Look, I've been through worse. Navy teaches you to stay cool when things go sideways. I felt that familiar calm kick in, same feeling I got during my cryptographer days when incoming intel suggested we were about to get hit. No panic, just assessment. I looked at the team photo on my desk, half those engineers I'd hired and trained myself. I remembered staying late with them through impossible Pentagon deadlines, running on vending machine coffee and determination. So I closed my laptop, no speeches, no arguing with a child who wouldn't understand anyway. I stood up, tucked my termination folder under my arm, and walked out. Past my team pretending to work while watching the drama unfold. Past the HR lady who used to ask me to mentor new hires. Nobody said a word. That told me everything I needed to know. But here's what people like Trevor don't understand about guys like me. Sometimes silence is strategy. I didn't go straight home. Stopped at Murphy's Diner instead. Red vinyl booths, coffee strong enough to wake the dead, waitresses who've been there since the Clinton administration. I sat there and just thought. Not about rage or getting even, just thinking. Ironwall had been my adult life. Joined when we were operating out of a converted warehouse, back when defense contractors were scrappy operations run by ex-military folks who understood the mission. I'd watched us grow from 20 people to a $1.2 billion Pentagon favorite, the quantum encryption protocols powering half the Navy's secure communications. I'd built that foundation code myself. I paid Murphy in cash, walked a couple blocks to clear my head, then caught a cab home. Not an Uber, a real cab like I used to take when Ironwall couldn't afford employee parking and I had to find street spots 6 blocks away. Home smelled like old leather and dog food. Rex, my golden retriever and certified therapy animal from my PTSD days, looked up from his bed with that careful tail wag dogs give when they sense something's shifted. Dogs know before you do sometimes. I set the termination folder on my kitchen table, poured 3 fingers of bourbon, the good stuff my late wife Sarah had given me for our 20th anniversary, and opened the drawer I hadn't touched in years. Buried under tax returns and warranty papers was a manila envelope with no label, just the weight of old habits and Navy-trained paranoia. Inside was the original patent application. My name at the top, not Ironwall's. Mine. Filed in October 2009, during one of the company's chaotic funding crises, when legal was more focused on staying solvent than tracking intellectual property. My buddy Rick Porter, Navy cryptographer turned IP attorney, had advised me over beers at a Norfolk dive bar. Nate, file it under your name first. You can always assign it later when things settle down and they remember to cut you in properly. They never settled down. They just got profitable. And they sure as hell never remembered. Rick had been smart enough to bury a clause in the provisional filing like a landmine with a long fuse. In the event of involuntary termination without cause, reversion of rights shall trigger automatically within 5 business days of formal notice. See, Ironwall had been using my quantum encryption framework for 15 years. Lawyers had drafted temporary licensing agreements with expiration dates, always planning to formalize the transfer after the next funding round or once we go public. But nobody followed up because nobody thought I'd ever leave. I was the foundation guy, the reliable one who kept the lights on while executives played musical chairs. Well, Trevor just pulled the pin on that grenade. You know what 32 years in defense work teaches you? How to think tactically. Don't react emotionally. Assess the situation. Identify your assets. Execute with precision. Right now, sitting in my kitchen with Rex at my feet and Sarah's bourbon in my hand, I was doing exactly that. My phone buzzed constantly. Slack messages from coworkers trying to figure out what happened. Sorry to hear, Nate. Stay in touch. The kind of messages people send when they're scared they might be next. HR sent an exit survey link. Like I was going to rate my execution experience. I didn't answer any of them. Let them wonder. Not one person had spoken up when Trevor handed me that folder. They'd all stood there like it was a corporate funeral where nobody brings flowers. But here's what they didn't know, what Trevor and his MBA brain trust couldn't possibly understand. I wasn't just another employee walking out the door. I was the architect walking away from a building I still owned the blueprints to. I stood in my hallway for 10 minutes staring at the closet I hadn't opened in over a decade. Top shelf, old banker's box labeled Original IP Archive, personal, the kind of thing you keep meaning to throw away but never do. Sitting cross-legged on the floor like I was back on a Navy ship going through classified documents, I found brittle printouts and coffee-stained notebooks scattered around me. My handwriting from 2009 looked like it belonged to a different man, one who hadn't yet learned how little the corporate world valued quiet excellence. Then I found it. Manila envelope, thick paper, crisp edges, still sealed with the original notary stamp. October 15th, 2009. Filed under my name, not Ironwall's, not on behalf of, mine. Back then, I was just trying to protect my work. We were a small team and I didn't trust startup chaos. Rick had pulled me aside after one of those company happy hours where everyone pretended the funding situation wasn't desperate. Nate, he'd said, I've seen this movie before. File it under your name. You can always sign it over later when things stabilize. They never stabilized. They just got greedy. I walked to my desk and opened the safe I hadn't touched in years. Had to try 3 combinations before I remembered. Sarah's birthday, my enlistment date, the day I started at Ironwall. Tucked the envelope inside. This wasn't revenge, not yet. This was reconnaissance. I opened an encrypted email to Rick. Subject line, need you to verify a clause. Attached a scan of the provisional filing. The fine print was almost elegant. Should the inventor be terminated involuntarily and without cause, reversion of full ownership shall occur within 5 business days of official notice. Typed. Still valid? Hit send. Rick called me back Tuesday morning at 06:30, lawyer time. I picked up on the first ring. Does the clause still stand? I asked. Papers rustling. Rick was methodical. The reason he'd made captain in the Navy and partner at his firm. He didn't give legal opinions based on hope. Finally, yes. If they terminated you Monday at 16:15 hours, reversion triggers by Friday end of business. But Nate? What? You kept that clause active for 15 years. Patent number 10,234,578 is about to revert to you automatically. That's their entire encryption backbone. I didn't speak. You sure you want to do this? They made the choice for me, I said. I hung up and got to work. By Wednesday morning, I was logged into the USPTO filing system. The reversion confirmation was a pre-written template Rick and I had drafted in 2009. You probably won't ever need this, he'd said back then, but I've seen too many good engineers get screwed by companies that forgot who built their success. Smart bastard. I opened the encrypted folder, double-checked the signature, fields, and filled out the formal reversion notification. No fancy letterhead or legal fanfare, just a quiet checkbox next to involuntary termination without cause, followed by a digital timestamp and upload fields. Click, submit. With that single click, I'd just armed a nuclear device. Ownership of Ironwall's crown jewel. The quantum encryption algorithm powering their Pentagon contracts, their licensing deals, their entire investor pitch deck would slide back into my hands by Friday. I didn't celebrate, just leaned back in my chair with my coffee and let it sink in. Rex jumped onto the table and sniffed at the laptop, unimpressed by my newly acquired multi-million-dollar intellectual property. Dogs have perspective. Trevor was apparently in rare form that week. Word travels fast when you've spent 32 years embedded in a place. He kicked off the product strategy meeting like he was hosting a game show, talking about AI first pivots and Q4 domination. Every feature ran off the same quantum encryption core I'd written during the financial crisis, before Ironwall even had proper server farms. Not one person in that room thought to check the USPTO filings. Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed. Paul Richardson from development, who used to bring me donuts during late-night debugging sessions. "Hey Nate, quick heads up. We're moving your old code into the new build this week. Pentagon demo got moved up to Monday. Feels weird without you here. Good luck with that," I said. Click. Let them figure it out. By Friday at 1700 hours, it was official. The USPTO confirmation pinged my inbox right on schedule. Patent, down to 10,234,578, was back where it belonged. Unless Ironwall had filed completely new encryption architecture in the last 5 days, which they hadn't, every line of code in their next-gen system was now trespassing on my legal property. I began drafting something more interesting than a resume. Licensing terms. I wasn't just going to reclaim what was mine. I was going to make them pay for thinking a 32-year veteran was disposable. But first, I had to let them hang themselves. The Pentagon demo was Monday. Trevor and his team were about to walk into the biggest presentation of their careers, completely unaware that the floor had already dropped out from under them. Sometimes the best revenge is just watching people destroy themselves with their own arrogance. It started with a kid. One of those overambitious summer interns Ironwall scoops up from expensive universities and feeds into the legal department. His name was probably Austin or Preston. Doesn't matter. He was tasked with monitoring USPTO activity for competitor filings. Standard procedure. Just click around, look for anything suspicious, flag if necessary. I can only imagine the moment. Kid's probably scrolling through patent databases Monday morning with his overpriced coffee, typing in Ironwall's own patent numbers for routine checks when he sees my name staring back at him. Mouth goes dry. Highlighter freezes mid-stroke. Maybe he thinks he clicked the wrong link. Maybe he refreshes the page 5 times, hoping a browser glitch would magically undo a corporate aneurysm. But the truth just sits there blinking. Inventor and owner, Nathan Brooks. Effective date, Friday, 1700 hours. He flags it, emails it to his supervisor with a subject line like possible issue, corporate speak for "I don't want to die for this." Legal reads it, pauses, probably rereads it 10 times, then digs through their dusty agreement folder and finds the clause, the one they'd filed and promptly forgotten, the one I'd slipped in like a silent tripwire 15 years ago. It was airtight. Ironwall's $1.2 billion defense contracts were now legally squatting on property they didn't own, and they'd already printed glossy brochures for the Pentagon demo. Trevor, of course, handled it with all the finesse of a reality TV star caught in a scandal. I'm told he laughed when legal brought it to him. "It's probably a clerical error," he said. Clerical error. Like the USPTO just accidentally handed over the company's most valuable IP to the guy he fired a week ago. Then he doubled down. Told legal to keep it quiet until after the demo. Said they'd iron it out post-presentation and accused the legal team of chasing phantom problems. Phantoms. I'll be sure to carve that on his career's tombstone. Meanwhile, the development team kept working like everything was fine. They had no idea they were running daily builds, scheduling final QA, printing materials with buzzwords like proprietary technology and patent-protected architecture, all of which now technically belonged to me. They were building a house on land they didn't own. Every hour that passed tightened the noose, because once you demo something publicly, once you claim it as your own under IP law, that's infringement. And infringement with knowledge, that's willful, which means triple damages. But Trevor didn't care. He was too busy updating his LinkedIn with phrases like driving technological innovation and transforming legacy systems. Legal quietly began drafting a worst-case risk memo. I know this because one of the junior attorneys forwarded it to a friend who forwarded it to me. The subject line, Patent reversion. Urgent. The memo was 4 pages long, but the last line said everything. Recommendation: postpone demo until IP ownership clarified. It was marked confidential, senior management only. Translation: don't let the board see this yet, because that's what Trevor feared most. Not the law, not the consequences. The board. He hadn't told them I was gone, not officially. He'd buried my departure under a line item in the org chart update and phrased it like workforce optimization. He told them the next-gen system was ready, that everything was on schedule, that Iron Wall was cruising toward a major Pentagon contract renewal, so the board still didn't know. And the demo was tomorrow. Tick, tick, tick. The call came at 06:35 Tuesday, just as I was letting Rex out for his morning routine. I knew that number by heart, though I hadn't seen it flash on my screen in nearly 8 years. Colonel James Cross, retired, the founder's husband. He'd stepped back a decade ago, retreating to some ranch in Montana with bad cell service and better whiskey. But James wasn't like the VCs or boardroom suits who came after. He didn't care about buzzwords or quarterly projections. He understood the guts of the thing, knew the difference between flash and substance, which made it all the more insulting that he'd let people like Trevor slither into the soul of what we'd built. I let it ring twice before picking up. Nate. His voice still carried that command authority, aged bourbon and disappointment wrapped in static. "James," I said, pouring coffee. "Long time. I just got an alert from USPTO. Patent 10,234,578. It lists you as the owner." I said nothing. Just waited. "Is this some mistake?" "No." Another beat. "That can't be. You assigned that to Ironwall." "No, James," I said calmly. "We never filed the final transfer. Remember? I was told it would be formalized after the Series B funding. Legal got reshuffled, then reshuffled again. It never got done." He went quiet. I could hear him breathing slower now, processing. "Nate, this is our core encryption system." "I know." Finally, he asked it. "Why now?" I let the question settle between us like dust in a server room. Then I said, "Because your people terminated me without cause. Because the clause we wrote 15 years ago just kicked in." He groaned low, like an animal hit center mass. "That was never supposed to be permanent. I trusted people would honor the deal." Silence. "They didn't," I said. Click. He hung up. I didn't expect an apology. I didn't want one. I just wanted him to understand. 25 minutes later, he was seen storming into Ironwall HQ. I got the play-by-play from 3 different people within the hour. One said he came through the front doors like a hurricane in cowboy boots. No appointment, no entourage. Just the founder's husband, face red, hair wild, waving a printed copy of the patent listing like it was a death certificate. He didn't go to Trevor's office first. He went to legal. Smart. James wasn't the type to scream, but his presence was loud enough. The intern who first spotted the reversion said James stood in front of the general counsel's desk and asked one question. "Did we ever formalize the IP transfer for Caldwell's encryption core?" And when the answer came back, stammered, incomplete, laced with half-assed excuses, he closed his eyes and muttered something unprintable. Then he did go to Trevor's office. And that, I'm told, was not quiet. Demo day at the Pentagon landed like a meteor. Conference room sea level, polished to perfection. Brushed steel, sterile spotlights, a 40-foot LED wall flashing "Next Gen is now." Rows of leather seats filled with Pentagon liaisons, existing contractors, Defense Department officials, every person whose signature or budget approval mattered. Trevor stood backstage in a navy blazer, doing that thing executives do where they believe charisma can outpace competence. He was smiling, joking with the CTO, adjusting his tie like he was about to accept an award. And for a minute, it looked like it might work. The intro video played. Glossy stock footage of satellites, server farms, diverse engineers smiling at monitors. The audience applauded politely. Trevor adjusted his mic, walked to center stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice smooth with self-satisfaction, "what you're about to see is the future of secure communications. A platform that will revolutionize how our military approaches encrypted data transmission." He gestured to the screen behind him where the system UI loaded up. Sleek, familiar, mine. In the next 15 minutes, we'll walk you through our most advanced iteration yet, powered by our proprietary quantum encryption engine, developed right here at Ironwall. That's when legal moved. Not fast, not panicked, just deliberate. A tall woman in a blazer stepped onto the stage from the wing and leaned close to Trevor's ear. I wasn't there, but I know what was said. We can't demo that system. We don't own the patent anymore. Trevor blinked, laughed too loud. Excuse me, small technical hiccup, he told the crowd. Give us just a moment. He stepped aside with legal. The mic was still on. The whole front row heard him whisper, "What are you talking about? We've always owned that code." "No, Trevor," legal replied. "You never did. Nathan Brooks owns the IP. The reversion is final. It's logged. It's live. If we demo this, we're in willful infringement territory." The blood left Trevor's face like someone had pulled a drain plug. Whispers started in the back. Phones lit up. Then it happened. Someone had leaked the USPTO documents to the Pentagon officials. Full printouts of the patent listing, along with the reversion clause in plain language, were being passed around the room like contraband. A Pentagon official stood up, holding the papers. "Nathan Brooks," she said, "I believe this is the patent registration referenced in your marketing materials." Trevor squinted at the documents. "I'm not sure where that came from." "Public record," the official said. "We all have it now." No one looked at the stage anymore. They were reading, sharing, connecting dots. That code, that system, it wasn't Ironwall's, it was his. I wasn't in the room, but his name was everywhere. On the documents, in the code, etched into the very DNA of the company Trevor claimed to lead. By the time Trevor tried to salvage it, rambling about roadmap transparency and partnership opportunities, half the audience had already left. Quietly, deliberately. The demo was dead, and everyone noticed the absence of applause. I woke up the next morning to the kind of silence that only happens after something has exploded. Rex was still asleep, but my phone was vibrating like a paint mixer. 203 missed calls. The notification bar was a massacre. Voicemails, texts, LinkedIn messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. 2 urgent emails flagged from Ironwall Legal. A message from Paul that just said "holy shit," and one from James. I scrolled for a moment, didn't open anything, then pressed call back on the most recent missed call from James. He picked up on the first ring. No greeting, just raw panic. "Nate, what do you want?" Not "can we fix this?" Not "how do we walk it back?" Not even "I'm sorry." He already knew none of that mattered anymore. I didn't answer him on the phone. I didn't need to. 30 minutes later, I sent an email. Subject line, terms. Inside was a bullet point list. Calm, surgical, no legal jargon. Full licensing agreement for Ironwall to continue using patent number 10,234,578. $22 million upfront payment plus 15% ongoing royalties. Interim CTO position with board voting privileges. Public acknowledgement of original authorship. Trevor Ashford's immediate resignation. I ended it with a single sentence. This is not revenge. This is realignment. Then I hit send. No signature, no warmth. Just business. James didn't reply immediately. I didn't expect him to. He was likely still in crisis mode, trying to explain to investors why the guy they'd erased from the company now held every card in the deck. 4 hours later, my terms were accepted. All of them. I didn't celebrate, just leaned back in my chair, Rex at my feet, and watched Norfolk through my window. Somewhere across town, Trevor was probably cleaning out his office, learning the hard way that you don't fire the architect unless you own the blueprints. And the blueprints, it turned out, had my name on them all along. That evening, I poured myself a double and sat on my back deck. The phone had finally stopped buzzing. Tomorrow, I'd go back to Ironwall, not as Nate from engineering, but as Nathan Brooks, CTO and patent holder. Some people call it revenge. I call it market correction. Because when you've spent 32 years building something, you don't just walk away quietly. You make sure everyone remembers who really built it. Last I heard, Trevor's selling insurance now. The company got renamed to Brooks Cross Technologies to honor the people who actually built it, and every new hire gets a lecture about respecting the veterans who came before them. Rex seems to approve of the changes. He's got a corner office now right next to mine, best therapy dog in the defense industry. You know what they say in the Navy, Sometimes the best weapon is the one nobody sees coming. I'd been carrying mine for 15 years, just waiting for someone stupid enough to make me use it. Trevor was that stupid.